Welcome, one and all, to Enlightened Conversations, where this season we're going just that little bit deeper and not skimming on the judgy surface of life. I will also be sharing conversations with my guides, and you can be guaranteed that all the topics that come through are authentic, life-changing and enlightened, because we want you to live a more joyful, peaceful and loving vibration. Let's go. Welcome everyone to our final episode for Season 7 of Enlightened Conversations. I'm Michelle Lightworker and I'm really excited to bring this one to you today. It's a pretty big one. As you know, I have spent many episodes with others, engaging with guests on Enlightened Conversations, and I now realise that all of our episodes are between us all. You, me, our guides, our ancestors, and whether we have a guest or not, the conversation is powerful. I probably hear your questions, thoughts and feelings on a vibrational level, and this creates this episode content as well as all the rest of them. I'm pretty sure of that. I get these sporadic downloads that happen, and no doubt this one's been fed by many of you. So I welcome into this space always love, curiosity and higher awareness, and especially today because we are stepping into a conversation that is both deeply personal and profoundly cosmic. Sexuality and the sixth dimension of consciousness. We've spent a few episodes diving into 6D consciousness, and I thought it would be potent today to end our season on this note. I do have other topics I would love to cover, and I will continue to do so in our next season, but I just wanted to make sure we continue our powerful deep dive into 6D by focusing on our sexuality. So when we look at sexuality through the 6D lens, we begin to see it not just as an orientation or an identity even, but as a vibration, a way our soul chooses to express and to learn and to serve. And every expression of sexuality, whether lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans or gender diverse, intersex, non-binary, asexual, or anywhere else along the vast spectrum of being, it is a sacred choice. It is not an accident. It is not something that just happened to us. And today we're going to explore why our souls might choose these paths, how past lives can shape our sexuality now, and how these identities carry both invitations for sublime joy and also challenges for growth, not only for ourselves, but also for society and for those around us as well. We'll also, in this episode, weave in the 12 spiritual principles that we so often call on to help guide us and navigate in a really grounded and principled way. And just for those of you who don't know what they are, and if this is your first time, these are the 12. Honesty, open-mindedness, willingness, forgiveness, unity, discipline, faith, responsibility, wholeness, love, joy, and peace. So our little guiding lights will help us to understand a little bit deeper as well. So take a breath with me, settle into your heart space, and let's step into this exploration together. First of all, we're going to talk about past lives and our sexuality. And one of the gifts of looking through a 6D lens is remembering that we are eternal souls. This lifetime is one chapter in a much larger story. And in that story, most of us have lived many lives in many different bodies. As men, as women, as healers, warriors, mothers, lovers, teachers, monks, outcasts, nuns, kings, priestesses. A lot of us have done all of that and then some. Sexuality often carries like the imprint of these past lives in our now astral body. And those imprints can, in and of themselves, hold a lot of energy, a lot of story, a lot of weight. And I'll give you a few examples how a past life might have determined our choices in how we represent ourselves now. So a person who identifies as asexual, and for those of you who don't know what asexual means, it means somebody who doesn't feel that sexual desire. So an asexual in this life may have lived monastic lives, taken vows of celibacy, or experienced trauma around sexuality as well. So their soul might be now seeking to balance with gentleness and space, giving themselves a breath, not having to confront those things in this lifetime potentially. A lesbian may feel a powerful draw toward women because in other lives she walked through deep sisterhood, perhaps even vowing never to trust men again after betrayal or persecution. These are just examples, no judgment. A gay man may carry the memory of being a temple priest, a shaman, or an oracle in a culture that honoured his love for other men, before later lifetimes brought punishment and shame. So there can be choices that we make in this lifetime based on trauma. Another example could be trans and gender diverse souls often carry the memory of many incarnations across the gender spectrum, which makes strict binary categories feel constraining to their essence. So it's a positive example of how a lot of exposure to a lot of different sexuality can determine a person being trans or bisexual or non-binary. So there's some examples, and it doesn't always have to be trauma-based, but it can be experience-based. And it's like we're starting off where we left off. And it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be those sexualities because there's some trauma-based in a past life. On the contrary, it means that we have chosen in this life to be gay, to be lesbian, to fully have an experience of what we need to for our healing, for our journey, for our energetic immersion, what feels right for us. And what feels right for us this lifetime does not mean that we're in a box for next lifetime. It means that we have the freedom to choose and we have the freedom to change and evolve. So no one's in boxes. Even if you identify strongly in this lifetime, you're still not in a box. And I invite you through that 6D perspective not to feel any judgment about past life trauma-informed choices for this life. Please, let's not go there. Let's not do that to ourselves. What feels right for us in any moment is right for us. If it feels right and you know it's right for you, then it is right for you. And from a 6D perspective, none of this is random. Your sexuality is not a mistake. It's a soul strategy, a way of exploring love, healing old wounds, reclaiming freedom. And in that, the power of that, it's about contributing to the collective awakening. If you feel like you can't be you, then a piece of you is withholding from that collective awakening. It's okay to be you. With that awareness in mind, we can begin to see sexuality not just as a private matter, like it's a sacred act of service to humanity's growth. And owning it is just phenomenally important. So I'm going to just break it down a little bit and give some, I guess you could say, main examples of not all, definitely not all, because there are so many examples for the LGBTQI community that we have and that we would definitely identify with as I've experienced that, they've experienced that, and we identify differently. It doesn't matter. We've both experienced it. So please. But just for the snapshot, I'd like to provide a 6D lens of the joys, the challenges, and potentially our soul's purpose when it comes to different gender identities and sexual identities. So with lesbians, many lesbians carry echoes of lifetimes where women bonded in secret, priestess circles, covens, or even simply in patriarchal societies because they felt they needed to be secretive to survive. And so there's the challenge of healing mistrust of men and facing cultural invisibility, and at times carrying the burden of past persecutions. So this is where forgiveness becomes medicine. And for those of you who identify not as a lesbian, you're identifying something else, but you still resonate with what I'm saying. It's not about excusing the past harm, but it's about releasing the grip of it and understanding that we too then, in that lifetime, had a choice of what we were choosing to experience so that we could evolve and grow. And obviously, if we incarnate into a time where there's persecution, we're going to have to survive that somehow. So that can be one of the way, if we identify as lesbian in this lifetime, it might have been based on where we've come from too. With joy and talking about joy in this life and now, in the here and now, and stepping into that power of our sexuality, lesbians often embody the principle of love, and they show us the beauty of intimacy, tenderness, devotion between women, and they model unity by reclaiming feminine power and connection. And that's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful joy. And we can all do that. We can all learn something from watching that, witnessing that, and having a sense of connection to women embodiment. With gay men, they often carry the vibration of beauty, artistry, and tender masculine love. And many were healers or sacred keepers of sexuality in other lifetimes, and maybe punished by cultures that feared them. Oh, we know this, still forbidden in some cultures and religions and countries even. So the main challenge for gay men, it's not isolated, there are many challenges, but the main challenge could be pain of rejection and the shadow of shame around who they are, or navigating stereotypes can be, like going to the other extreme of femininity to feel like you're enough, that you matter, and that over sort of sexualization can be another way that overemphasizes why you need to feel acceptance for yourself, and can be a cover-up for shame too. So just being you, just be you, hey? That's the call here, I think. When you have the principle of responsibility kick in here, it helps choosing to walk your path in truth without carrying society's projections. You don't have to take on a mantle of being overly gay and flamboyant just because you are gay. And you may be flamboyant. I'm just saying, you don't have to be that 24/7 if you don't feel like it. Just don't put yourself in a box or allow society's projections of you to put you in a box. And with joy and stepping into joy. Look, you know what? Gay men often shine in the principle of joy. I mean, they do, don't they? They're just bubbles. And they bring the celebration and the creativity and the divine playfulness, if you like, and they embody honesty when they live openly, radiating authenticity. So yeah, you don't need to be all of that all the time. But it's a beautiful thing. And it's such a gorgeous gift that we have. And I like to think that I have an inner gay man a lot. Like, I like being a little bit of a peacock now and again. It's fun. But yeah, and it's also just, it's okay to just have those down days, to have that cave time, to be soft, and to also be vulnerable and let those walls down that you feel maybe there's a part of you you're not allowing in your relationship or in your friendships to be seen. So the next one, bisexuals, very close to my heart. I identify as bisexual and pansexual, and falling in love with the person rather than the gender. Anyway, souls who choose bisexuality are often weaving together many lifetimes of diverse loves. They carry a refusal to be limited, and usually the main challenges that bisexual people have is they face invisibility or invalidation from others, being told to pick a side. Like between heterosexual people and the gay community, it's almost like the whole black and white thinking can come in. One in a bisexual sense, you might find that lesbian or gay feel you should be polarized over there, and from heterosexuals, you should be polarized over there, and there's this kind of invalidation of you can't be both. The principle of peace can often help with bisexuality because it helps us anchor the truth that our fluidity is sacred and it's not confusing. Even if people don't understand it, it's okay, and we can be at peace with it. I think the society can project onto us that what it doesn't understand isn't okay, and because bisexuality is one of those things that's really hard to understand for people, especially if you don't feel it yourself. How could you like girls if you're a girl? How could you like guys if you're a guy? And how could you like both? And how do you live in a heterosexual marriage if you're a bisexual person? There's all these questions that come out, and just because it's hard to understand, it's not actually that easy to navigate, just saying as a bisexual person, but just because it's hard to understand doesn't mean it's wrong. And insofar as the joy that purpose of a bisexual person can have in this world, bisexuals really embody wholeness on that sexuality level, and they remind us that love flows beyond categories, and so that's a huge, powerful thing. Love does exist beyond categories and sexuality as well. And they model open-mindedness and dissolving those rigid walls. So we also model that real acceptance. And it's really challenging actually for the bisexual to have that when they're not accepting themselves. And it can put them in a really tough spot in marriages and in relationships when they're denying that. And so my invitation to you is to, if you do have those thoughts, not to feel like you have to categorize yourself as this or that or what have you. It just is what whatever it is that you're feeling is okay. If you're attracted to women some of the time but not all the time, that's okay. If you're attracted to men some of the time but not all the time, that's okay. If you're attracted to both all the time, that's okay. Whatever it is, it's okay. With trans and gender diverse, they're often ancient souls, and they've walked the entire gender spectrum in their other lives. So their presence on earth now is no accident. It's more like a teaching, and their primary challenge is really the surviving in a culture that often misstands or fears them. And so we invite that principle of discipline becoming a strength for them here, because the steady devotion to their authenticity, even in the face of difficulty, is really called for. You could say they're like in the army of sexuality in that way. They need that discipline to keep turning up to what is authentic authentically them and their choice. And that means that it's a daily thing, and it's daily challenge by society. And there's so many areas of society that are challenging that today. But the joy really is that they do embody willingness, which is, this courage to live authentically despite misunderstanding. Like, that takes a lot of will, to turn up for yourself every day as well. And you also find that trans embody faith, because they're trusting that their identity is divine. And even when the world resists, that they have that feeling that I made this choice and I have faith in that, and that this is the right choice for me. So there's a lot of discipline, faith, willingness for trans and gender diverse people. And I will, speak to the, non-binary as well, just separately. But trans, trust what you want to do with your body, trust what you want to do with your hormones, trust what you want to do with your how you want to appear on a physical level, because even that will evolve over time, because it evolves for all of us normal people, in brackets here, who doesn't change their style, who doesn't change their hair, who doesn't change their outfits every season or two, who looks at their photos from when they were, 15 or 16, and then they're 40, and they look every 10 years, they go, gee, I look different there. Gee, I look different there. It's an evolving thing. That's what's normal. So trust yourself to stay true to your north, your true north, and wherever that points, you can evolve, and you can allow yourself to be 100%, not needing to prove a point to somebody else in order to do your true north. That's my guidance for you, for your purpose. So I find this next one a very interesting one. Intersex people who are born with two genders, and they basically they're souls that incarnate as like this natural bridge between masculine and feminine. And really they show us that polarity is not always neat and tidy. They're born with usually a penis and a vagina, and that was something that physically they had zero control over, apart from making the choice before they incarnated. Once they're here, and that's it. It's not like they're choosing to have both. It's here, and it's time to deal with it. So mainly their challenges often can be from painful medical interventions, or being treated as a problem rather than a gift, or being forced to have to choose again a side. Are you a girl? Are you a boy? And so the responsibility comes in here, not in the sense of blame, but in reclaiming their own narrative as sacred. And even if their family of origin or society has seen them identifying as this side or that side of their gender, they get to choose, reclaim that for themselves. And once they find this sense of wholeness, and it could be that they've chosen a side they identify more with, and they want to do a full transitioning to that. Once they've chosen that, that's a major, major milestone. And yet I do want to say this, that you don't have to choose a side to have what you actually, in the joy of your natural being, would be that you're all intersex people embody unity simply by existing. That's amazing. You bring peace, teaching us that the body doesn't need to conform to dualistic ideas. You bring this wholeness in, and this bridge between this masculine and feminine. It's amazing. And even if you do choose a side that you feel like, I'm more a girl, or I'm more a boy, or whatever you choose, you can always feel connected to that other place. You don't have to feel by transitioning to one, you have to leave the other behind. You can be the full expression of your identity and still continue to feel that bridge between the masculine and feminine energies inside yourself. So thank you for being you and bringing that gift of that natural embodiment of unity. Thank you for bringing that to earth here, and we appreciate you. Now moving on to non-binary souls who don't identify with either masculine or feminine. They remind us that we're not confined to categories, and they hold ancient wisdom of both poles and something beyond. So their challenge could be that they feel like there's dismissal or needing to constantly explain themselves, and erasure. It's like, this very much if you don't identify, then you're worthless. There is no place for you. And so the principle of discipline can help here, supporting them to hold their ground with grace. I'd also invite the principle of love in as well, to have a bit of compassion for people who just don't get it, who dismiss and who degrade because they themselves haven't got the self-worth on board that they are enough, and they project that onto the non-binary soul. That is a very challenging thing to have to deal with in society. You see it in just simple forms where there's not a category that you can tick. It's an M and an F for a male or a female, and that's it. So let's just hope that there's another box that will appear that will support non-binaries to be able to feel that they are acknowledged, they're valid, and they matter just as much as anybody else, everyone. The joy that they bring forward in this lifetime is really that they embody open-mindedness and wholeness all at once. They create spaces of freedom and creativity. They unshackle us from ideas that are restrained. They live in a place that says, I am enough. And I'm really proud of you, and I'm really so grateful that you can bring that to our society and feed that into the grid. Thank you so much, all you beautiful non-binaries out there. Asexuals, so souls that really have no sense of that sexual arousal or desire for it. They usually may be completing lifetimes of celibacy, devotion, or even trauma healing, and their lack of sexual drive does not mean a lack of intimacy. Quite the opposite. They may have experienced lives as in sexual addiction. They may have over-sexualization in their past lives. They may be choosing to engage wholly with their spirit form in a big healing way in this life. There's no right or wrong. Remember, everybody who chooses their life and how they're living it in this life need to do it. And sometimes those acts of celibacy are chains, and sometimes those acts of celibacy are liberation. So we can look at it in so many ways. We just need to look at it holistically. Everybody's story is different, and with asexuals, they can be really misunderstood. So I invite you to keep an open mind, and their main challenge is misunderstanding in a sex-focused world, and the principle of honesty helps them claim their truth without apology. If they choose, this is how I want to live, and they're not in avoidance of healing, then that is a wonderful thing. If they're in avoidance of healing and they're choosing their asexuality, then we can still be in a place of compassion and love and tolerance. However, then there is also an enabling factor if we're in a relationship and someone's choosing to be asexual. So there are many things that would need to be worked out in that instance. And that would be quite a complex situation. I mean, I've been a sex addiction counsellor and also a relationships counsellor, so there's many intricacies that would be woven in there. So I would say that if you have any doubt, if you're with someone who's asexual, or you yourself are asexual, or you think you might be, or you're not sure if it's an avoidant thing or it's trauma-based, I would seek professional help and just to identify and get clarity on owning your choice of asexuality. And if it's an automatic reaction, also then understanding that sometimes those automatic reactions are trauma-based. They're an avoidance thing of not shutting down sexually. So it's a complex one. And the joy that can be brought forward though, with asexuality is the embodiment of faith, showing us that intimacy exists beyond sexuality. They live in peace and modeling gentleness in a culture obsessed with sex. There's a real dignified nature of someone who is making that choice from a place of purpose. And also, I just want to throw this one in because I say it to my hubby all the time is like, we're not having sex in the bedroom, like just we're having sex all the time. Engaging in play and happiness and joy and dancing and flirting and hugging and just having a beautiful connection on any level with somebody is a beautiful exchange of joy, passion, and that can't just be segregated to the bedroom. So if you're an asexual and you feel like there's no joy and there's no play and there's none of that sort of connection with people, and then that could be something that you can, if you want that can be something that you could take to a therapist and say, hey, I identify as asexual. However, I also find it challenging to have these other parts of my life be lit up. So can I explore that more? And you can delve deep and see where it's coming from. So that's basically a little bit of the different challenges and joy that our queer community can bring to the world and ourselves and each other. And I just want to quickly run through our 12 principles as anchors and just throw out there what each one could help us with, no matter the identity. They could be a bit of a map, like a bit of a road map. So with honesty, could be naming and living our truth, really claiming it. With open-mindedness, accepting all expressions as valid within ourselves and also with each other as well. With willingness, it's to heal, to grow, and to live authentically. Every day, turning up to ourselves and saying, yeah, I'm willing to heal, I'm willing to grow, I'm willing to live authentically. With forgiveness, it's really, big for this topic because it's releasing the pain of past persecutions. And so many of us have molded our sexuality based off those persecutions. So it's about liberating ourselves. And once we have, seeing where the chips fall and where we identify. We might identify in the same place. We might identify differently. We might identify with little tweaks. It's all good. But yes, that forgiveness is so powerful. With unity, it's about remembering that we are all one soul with many faces. And so therefore, how we're treating any part of the gay or queer community, even if we don't identify there, we're all one face. We've all got these challenges. So being really accepting of each other with our uniqueness. And also for society who identify as heterosexual, it's really bringing your love to the table and remembering that we are all one soul with many faces, and you as much as we feed the grid. So if you can feed some love back, even if you don't understand it, gratitude ahead of time. With discipline, we've got really living true even when it's hard, and turning up for ourselves and making sure that we are on point to what that trueness is. And we don't always have to be smiling, and we don't always have to be too butchy or feminine or whatever. We can be all, and having the discipline to honor ourselves every day and each other is very important. With faith, it's about trusting our soul's choice, that hey, we made this choice for a reason and it wasn't a mistake, and we are not a mistake, and how we feel is not a mistake. It is not a mistake. This is about trusting our soul's choice, and it is about letting ourselves step in and step up. And when we actually do trust that and have faith in that, it's like this, we can say, I'm inviting the universe to help me to understand this, to support me, to deal with this, to bring me resources to help me. And without that faith, we kind of trying to do it all ourselves and trying to cope on all ourselves, and it can be that we're cutting ourselves off from unlimited resources. So just invite them in. Trust it's our soul's choice, and trust that we have a big team that can help us if we ask for that. We can just open that door. Keep it open. And the responsibility is about owning our healing journey and knowing that it can be messy, and we can be bastards and bitches along the way because we don't feel understood, and we can be abusive to other people because we're so angry at being persecuted in our past lives. And so we might have to own our own naughty actions towards others out of hurt and pain and unresolved trauma. It's also about owning our healing journey with allowing that support to support us, and turning up to a therapist, turning up to a self-help group, reaching out for support, not allowing ourselves to isolate. Take responsibility. If that part of you is wounded, it comes through as a wounded person in your life. You may feel like a victim. It might spread like a little toxic energy throughout your whole life. Once you start to own and take responsibility, hang on, I made this choice. I'm going to put my big girl pants on or my big boy pants on. I'm going to man up, and I'm going to woman up, and I'm going to adult this, and I'm going to take responsibility for this choice I made. And it's no one's fault. It's not my fault. It's not anybody's fault. But hey, here I am. This is what I'm doing, and I'm going to do this really well. I'm going to own this, and I'm going to be this, and I'm going to love it. And I'm going to love me even if you don't love me, and that's okay. So it's really about getting that adult parenting hat on for yourself. Okay, so then we've moved to wholeness, and it's really simple. The principle of wholeness is about being able to integrate everything in your world at any time. So this is about embracing every part of ourselves. Yes, we're a gender. Yes, we have sexuality, but we have all these other parts. So it's about owning our whole person and understanding that we are able to embrace, integrate, and accept all the parts of ourselves. The parts of us that don't understand ourselves even. The parts of us that feel like they want to act out. Accepting that there are parts on board that are really unhealed or wounded is part of that journey. But we also have a higher self. We also have an inner mother. We also have an inner father. We also have many, many parts of ourselves that are strong and competent in different parts of our lives that we are aware of. Then we can call on those parts too to help us integrate the not so integrated parts. So wholeness is important moving forward. And love, well, it's the essence of every orientation and gender at the end of the day. So if love is part of everything and woven throughout, then it's about allowing that love to flow through. And if we have any fear around I'm not sure about this, or I'm not sure about that, or where are the boundaries in my relationship with my sexuality, or this or that. That's okay. Just invite love in and it will guide the way. You just invite that love in and be honest and allow yourself to be unsure and allow yourself to be on a journey. It's okay to love yourself in a journey of imperfection, because that is perfect. So joy is about celebrating our unique expression. So this principle of joy helps us to really be in love with it and be happy with it and be fully proud of it. Like, allowing that joy to ripple through, that this is me and that's great. I chose this and good on me. And yeah, I'm different. That's fantastic. How cool is that? There's no me, even though we're all a mirror of each other, but there's no me put together that's anyone like me. Even if I was a twin, there's no one really like me. There's going to be something different about me compared to my other twins' journey and, their choices and their purpose. So allow that for yourself and be in that joy of celebrating you and your own unique expression of you doing you this lifetime. And last but not least, we've got the principle of peace. And so this principle helps us really to anchor in the acceptance of our identity and anchor that in so far as it being in acceptance of the world and anchoring that acceptance that we have for ourselves right back into the world and being a piece of calm, a piece of peace, literally a walking piece of peace in our world. And when we embody that, our sexuality becomes not just our identity, but it becomes a sacred service. When we can do all those principles, we are in living service, a sacred service. Our sexuality becomes not just an identity that we're trying to claim. It becomes this sacred service to the world. Doesn't that blow your mind? And you've just got so much that you're feeding into the grid that's positive. And like we have some present invitations that we here and now that these soul choices that we've made around our sexuality invite us into. For joy, it's to celebrate our sexuality. Let it be art, music, laughter, tenderness, activism, devotion. Celebrate. And for growth, we notice where old wounds are, where they're still echoing, where they're still whispering to us. We meet them with compassion. And every challenge, it's an echo of a past life now ready to be healed. So we invite in the present, we invite that growth, and so that we can heal that, so that we can step more into our joy, step more into our peace, and feed that into the grid. And for our purpose, it's knowing that our sexuality is part of humanity's evolution too. It's by living our truth, we dissolve fear and we expand the collective vibration. So there's less fear in the world. So really, in essence, sexuality is not a burden, it's a gift to the earth. So what a doozy, huh? Sexuality. Who would have thought? And so look, as we come to a close of this episode, I just want to leave you with this blessing. May honesty guide your steps. May love fill your heart. And may peace anchor your being. And may your sexuality, in whatever form it takes, be a radiant expression of your soul's light. Because in truth, we are many expressions, but one unique soul. Blessings to you all. See you next time.